So, our first spoiler review of the day is going to be for the film Evil Dead Burn. Evil Dead Burn is the latest installment in the Evil Dead franchise there, franchise created by Sam Raimi there. We did a retro review for one of the Evil Dead films there, Army of Darkness, which you can check out on the YouTube channel, youtube.com. Afternoon 2, just type that in, you'll be able to find it. And I had both Sage and Ulyssey on that review there because in anticipation for this new release there, we did a retro review for one of the Evil Dead movies there. But in this latest adventure of Evil Dead there, Evil Dead Burn, typically with these movies, they do new director every time. So in this, the person that's helming this Evil Dead film is Sebastian Vanecek there. So he's doing this version, and the only movie he's done prior to this one was a movie called Infested there, which I hear good things about. I heard good things about that movie. I know Sage doesn't want to see it because of the spiders and whatnot. But
I'm not watching it, man.
I hear good things about it. I do want to check it out there. What is going on in this Evil Dead film here? Well, you have a girl there named Alice there. You have a woman named Alice there who... she's in a relationship with a man there. The relationship is kind of very rocky until a sudden accident happens there with a deadite. That accident leads to his death. And then then she has to kind of come back to him there when a funeral, and then meet his family there. I guess someone of her in-laws there, because they were married, her and this guy there. And then kind of a very simple movie because you have her friends there that are also with her at the funeral, who are also friends with her husband there. And her two friends that we see in this are Joseph and Thea there. And when the funeral happens, they go back to the home there of Joseph, and her husband's name. What was his name again? It was Will. Was the husband's name in the film there. And then when they go back to the home of Joseph and Will, who are two brothers there, to spend time with the family. Even though Alice, doesn't look like she really wants to be there, but she's there. Hey, at least she showed up. She showed up to a funeral in track pants and sneakers, and she showed up better dressed to a funeral. Worse dressed to a funeral than the people showed up in the long walk. That's the outfit she showed up to the long walk with, track pants and some sneakers, which obviously to the family's dismay there. And the family doesn't seem like they like Alice too much there. But once they get back home there, chaos starts to ensue with Deadites there because they are looking for something. They are looking for a dagger there. And we also get something in the movie there. We're going to do a general review first and then go more deeper in depth into some of the spoiler talk there and some of the issues we had with the movie there. But yeah, so they're looking for a dagger there. And we see that there's kind of a history with this family with the Deadites and kind of their exposure to them. So I'm going to pass around, get you guys' thoughts on this. So, Sage, what are your thoughts on Evil Dead Burn?
Well, it's funny too, because when you say they when the movie starts out, you see that they had this like rocky relationship before the husband dies. To a like Homer Simpson falling down the Springfield Gorge degree rocky, like cartoon-ish like rockiness, like the way he comes out and yells at her in that first scene outside of their restaurant, like it is just turned up to 11 to this absurd degree, the way he just freaks out about the littlest possible thing. It is just that she like kind of one-ups him a little bit with like a birthday present. And it's not even like a one-up. She just is like, oh, I gave you this thing to like make your birthday better to the brother-in-law. And he just loses his mind over this like tiny little insignificant thing. Like, I think right away that in particular told me that like sort of not to take any of the like, I guess, family drama of this all that seriously and sort of focus on the comedy elements of the movie.
Yeah. I will say, when you meet the family, it kind of reminds you of something like Resident Evil 7 when you kind of meet the family in that at first, especially there. And we're going to get into it more, but also how the family all turn into Deadites and how that kind of happens. Resident
Evil 7 does start with a big dinner scene too.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And how they all kind of turn into. I mean, they've always been very fast and loose with the whole Deadite rule and everything like that of how they kind of operate.
It's never been consistent, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just
Um.
kind of sometimes dead people get possessed by demons. That's it. That's literally it.
So what say you there, Ulysses? What are your thoughts on Evil Dead Burn?
So I would say that this movie has a pretty good opener because we don't actually start with the family. We start with this sort of framing device at this lake where you've got these two random guys who get killed, and that was like a weird scene to have in this movie because it really felt like it kind of upped the ante for what this movie was going to be about, where you have this deadite who has like these insane powers, who does like these massive kills on these two guys, and seems to be orchestrating this broader plan that we don't know what it is yet. And then we go from her causing this magical car crash immediately to some chick twerking, and from there we pick up with these random family characters, and we never see anything like the scale of like what that lake scene sort of promised us again in the movie. And I feel like that kind of set the tone for me in the sense that this movie has some really good ideas and then constantly disappoints you.
Interesting. Okay. And with that opening scene, I kind of was a little confused because I was like, how does this really, when the movie ended, I was like, how does this really connect to the rest of the movie? Like, how do these people connect to the rest of it?
Well, and I'll say too, my like one, because I think Rise is really good and really pretty tightly made, but like my one complaint about Rise walking out was I thought the framing device was a little unnecessary. It seemed kind of tacked on. And then this is like a continuation of that same framing device, which is an interesting choice just because I already felt like in a better movie it felt tacked on. So why continue to do that? I don't know.
Yeah. And when the movie opened with the lake, I thought like, wait, am I watching Evil Dead Rise again? Like, wait, hold on, y'all playing the wrong. Is this the wrong movie? There, but yeah. So I was like, how does this really connect to everything else? Because I don't. It's not like Scream when you have to introduce them and the first kill kind of sets off everything and like it connects to anything like that. So I was kind of confused of how this really relates, but yeah, that was kind of it was cool though. I mean, the kill was cool with the two dudes.
I love the scene. I just wish it mattered.
Yeah, that the way they ended, how like the Deadite wrapped the fish pole around the person, and everything like that. Like I thought that was pretty nice.
Especially like just she flicks her wrist and an entire lake boils, and I'm like, how can we power down things after that?
Yeah. And then with this new cast of characters here, and with a lot of these sometimes Evil Dead movies, it's like who's gonna stand out, who's gonna be maybe the new Ash, who's gonna be kind of the new big performance. And then in Evil Dead Rise, it seemed like Alyssa Sutherland was like the big standout. She was kind of the big Deadite performance there of it. Of that movie there, of what she kind of did, her whole look, everything like that. And then in the Evil Dead reboot, remake, requel, whatever the hell you want to call it, you had Jane Levy who was in that, who did such a great job in that. And then of course, the Sam Raimi movies, you had Ash Williams there. And this one, the main character is Alice there, who's in this, who's played by Shalia Jacob there. And they kind of position her a little bit of that, more of like kind of like the Jane Levy type of person there a little bit, and they kind of bring in an element where she's overcoming trauma there, I guess, with the past relationship and how she's gonna kind of fight back against that in a sense there, and the Deadites are kind of maybe, you guess you could say, a metaphor for that in a sense of what her doing, and with what happened with her and her ex-husband there,
like the family being just as abusive as the husband was, and trapping her in the scenario.
Yeah, and you kind of see like, oh well, it came from somewhere when you get to see the family there.
Yeah, it's like the underlying theme of the entire movie, pretty much.
Yeah. And I thought it was a little goofy. They do these kind of like flashbacks to their relationship that kind of didn't look all that great.
I felt like that was kind of unnecessary. It was just sort of thrown in. I don't think they should have done it. Yeah.
Like they just got them backwards. Like, well, okay, we need to, it doesn't make any sense if we don't have more context to the relationship. So we got to
sort of not trusting your audience. Just
exactly. I think the movie parts of the movie anyway did a really good job, sort of like showcasing through context what was going on and like why this family was like this and how she felt that like about it all. It didn't need to like directly show the audience like these flashbacks to establish that, I don't think.
Yeah.
And in those flashbacks, it's sort of that thing I mentioned before where he's so cartoonishly turned up to 11. Like, it's such a caricature of like an abusive husband that it's like hard to take seriously.
Yeah. And then I forgot, what were they fighting about in that flashback when they were in the kitchen or something? Like, was it about bills or something like that?
It was
Or-
he wanted to have children and she did not.
Oh, she wanted to have children. Okay, gotcha. And then a big thing is also he owns, like, they say it's a restaurant, but it looks like just a club.
Yeah.
and like, because there's a big contention with her and the family of like, well, what are you going to do with the restaurant? When they kept saying restaurant, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, this seems like, I don't know, is it a restaurant by day and a club by night or something?
Wow,
Or-
I didn't even realize that those were supposed to be the same thing. I
Yeah,
thought there
I
was
was
like a
like-
whole other restaurant somewhere else that was only mentioned and not seen.
The only reason I did kind of pick up on it was because they were eating food for his birthday while they were there. But you know, I won't disagree that the presentation is like very weird.
Yeah, because it opens up with just a big booty woman in the screen, just showing off. I was like, okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
that's not what I think of when I think restaurant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
To
mean,
be fair, it's also not what you think of when you think of Evil Dead.
yeah. So hey, okay, dead ass there. Okay, you got that in it. Okay, so yeah, so that was kind of big contention with them and the family there with the whole thing of her, like, are you gonna keep it open? Are you gonna close it? It's like, well, she's like, well, I kind of want to go back to France, I think is where they say she's from in the movie.
Yeah.
There.
Yes.
She wants to go back to France.
The movie's like in general kind of weirdly French, which I mean, yes, it's a French director, but like there's a lot of what feels like a like French sort, like French extreme is like this other subgenre and like French horror specifically, and it sort of is like leading into that. I mean, there's like French music cues at certain points, and like again, just something I wouldn't necessarily expect going into an Evil Dead movie.
I felt like it was mostly just there to help sort of accentuate the main character's, Alice's personality and background a bit, and I think that worked in that sense.
Yeah.
I think it might explain certain like off-kilter like dialogue choices or certain elements of like the tone at certain points too.
Yeah. And a big thing about this movie as well, Evil Dead Burn, especially when it kind of came out there, it seems like I feel like this is the most mixed anyone has ever been. People have been on an Evil Dead film, because the big thing about people say about Evil Dead franchise is like, hey, it's never been a bad one. It's all these ones have been really strong there, but I think I feel like this one where people have kind of been the most divided. You mentioned like the reboot movie, people also pretty divided.
When it came out, I think people were very, very divided on that one. I feel like I really liked it right when it came out, but I think with age, it's maybe appreciated a little bit more now. And I mean, I think it did well at the box office when it released, but it was definitely like kind of, I remember some critics were like panning that movie.
I chalk that up to it just being a very different tone from what we would come to expect from the previous Evil Dead stuff. I mean, when your last movie was Army of Darkness and you lead into that, a lot of people are going to go, how did we get here?
Yeah.
And the big thing about this movie seems like people looking at some other reviews there, when people said about this movie, is that they said like, it's just too brutal. It's too nasty. It's too violent. It's like, you see that.
I think
like,
that's one of the things that kind of upped this movie a lot for me, is like a lot of the kills were like really fresh and graphic in a way that you want from a horror movie. And like, I was always excited to see what the next like big gore moment was going to be. I know that sounds bad, but like it was a thing that kept the movie like fresh and creative, where I feel like it could otherwise have gone very stale.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Looking forward to each of the kills and sort of just how far they take them, it made up some of the character stuff not working as well for me.
I do think there were some moments where the movie was maybe a little too gross for its own good, and it lingered on the grossness for much longer than was necessary. But as a general rule, I think all the gore stuff worked.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm desensitized. I don't know. Like, I didn't have really an issue with a lot of it. I mean, I think these movies, I mean, especially like the Evil Dead Rise. I mean, there was a scene where she had a chainsaw and it was buckets
Yep.
and buckets of blood and everywhere, and it's like so I was like, what's the difference between Evil Dead Rise and then this? I was like, I feel like it's equal amount of gore. I feel like I don't
I
know.
do feel like it's a
Personally,
little bit of a weird criticism for Evil
yeah.
Dead as a franchise. I mean, like, were you there for Evil Dead 2? That was pretty gory. That was pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that the 2013 one, because of how sort of, I feel like that is the one that has the most serious tone out of all of them. I feel like that one is still maybe more like viscerally disturbing than this one is. Just because of the tone that it's going for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't have an issue with any of this, and this is the 2013 one right here. I've been meaning to go back and watch this one and watch Evil Dead Rise again, and check that
I'll
out.
say I think this one does have a surprising amount of sort of small funny moments. Like I think they're more subtly funny, and maybe you have to have a bit of a demented sense of humor. But like when the girl that's the nurse does the thing where she cuts like her cheek out, and then the guy with the glasses, the dumbass that like reads the book in the first place, goes into the bathroom. He almost does like a Looney Tunes like pratfall where he slips on the cheek on the ground and then like hits it. And I'm like, I don't know. I think that's kind of meant to be funny, even though it's like a smaller example of a little bit of humor in there. Like to me, that works as like a comedy bit.
Yeah, and then I would say in this new version of Evil Dead Burn, of course, like a thing about the Evil Dead franchise is they try to combine kind of humor sometimes, and with the gore and with the horror aspect of it. I mean, obviously that was a big thing in 2. That's a big thing in Army of Darkness. And then in this one, I'd say the humor for me really didn't work as well. I don't know if it's like a language thing. Maybe the director, it's a different sense of humor. Maybe that has an aspect of it. But like stuff like there's a running gag in the movie with the grandmother where she keeps accusing the girlfriend of Joseph, Thea, of stealing. Like, oh, she steals my purse. She stole my purse or whatever. And they continue that forever. They do that like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, okay, it's starting to lose its luster. Okay, after the first couple times, I'm like, all right, there you go. What about the humor? Did it work for you guys or not? Or
See, that's where I think, for what I do think are a lot of issues with like the more serious, like thematic elements, like the comedy really did largely work for me in this movie. Like when they do the construction site noises over the funeral, I like had tears in my eyes. I was genuinely laughing that hard. Like I don't think I've laughed that hard in a theater since Russell Crowe killed himself in Les Mis.
wow. What about you there, Ulysses?
I have to agree with Sage. I think the comedy, I would go so far as to say that the comedy for me is what saved this movie. I think the attempts at like serious plotting and character stuff was very inconsistent, but I found the comedy to be consistently hilarious. Like the funeral scene was amazing. I think the grandma worked more than she didn't. There were definitely moments where, like you said, it felt like, okay, we kind of used that joke already. But with the thief jokes you were mentioning, I felt like that came back around, where there's a moment where a deadite is trying to trick her and she's like, oh, you're just going to give me back my money, right? And the deadite is like, wait, what? This is going to be this easy? Like that little moment of personality for the deadite is what those sort of jokes ended up building up to, and made itself a very funny moment for me.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, even that moment with the deadite, I was like, I'm not too big on it. I mean, I laughed more at the moment like in the car, like, which was a great action sequence. I like that a lot. With the Thea gets her hand smashed. I was like,
Yeah.
that kind of made me laugh. I was like, ooh. I was like, Jesus, that's oh my God, that moment. So that kind of worked there. And just how much the asshole, like Bill Burr, the dad, who looks like Bill Burr,
Yeah.
He kind of does.
Yeah, there was like a great moment where he's walking past his son. It's like, you just like living in shit. That made me laugh.
And I'm trying to find, it was Edgar, played by Errol Shan there, who played the dad there, Edgar there. So he played him. And it seems like the movie's priming him to be like another like Alyssa Sutherland, like to be a breakout deadite performance. But I feel like it falls short of that and doesn't capture as great as I think he could have been. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with that. I don't think, I think of the two big ones that have like a decent amount of screen time, I think the brother's girlfriend is, I think, the one that had more charisma. It had a little bit
Thea,
more
yeah.
standout.
Yeah.
She had more standout personality to me. And one thing I'll say that I think was a big missed opportunity is they have like a deadite dog, and they do nothing with that deadite dog. Like, imagine how, especially if you're leading into comedy, like you could have had that dog talking and taunting and doing ridiculous stuff. It just the dog on its own. I think that was a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah. So I'll let you guys give your review there, give your rating, and then we'll do this quick little spoiler talk. For me, I would give it a lowish tune in for me with Evil Dead Burn there. I think I'd have to rewatch the movies again, especially the newer ones, to really see how much I like this one compared to the other ones there, or dislike this one compared to the other ones. Right now, my initial thinking is like I do think this is weaker than the other Evil Dead movies, but I still think it is still a solid entry in the franchise there. This sequence right here, like this one take kind of sequence where he's just whooping this dude's ass all over the house and he's throwing them everywhere. Like that's kind of really cool and that's kind of really awesome there. We're gonna get into like, even though this is like a cool moment, it's like I feel like there's a way easier way to accomplish your goal here and get what you really want. You don't have to do all this. You know what I mean? I get that Deadites like to be assholes, but it's like, okay, if you really just want to do your thing and get out of here, this seems like a much easier method to do it. But yeah, I mean, I think that for me the kills are really good in here. A lot of the gore moments are really good for me in here. Like there's a sequence in the chimney that is really good. I love that sequence quite a bit.
Oh, that was great.
And they use a different weapon. It's not a chainsaw anymore. They use a different weapon here. So I thought that was kind of good there. They use different power tools. You know, she uses some other ones there. The lead performance here, Alice, I don't think I'm completely sold on her as being like the lead of this movie. And how that kind of works there. I think she does fine, but I think compared to like some other ones we had, even I forgot the other woman's name that was in
the character was Beth, but I don't remember the actress.
Yeah, her, I think she did maybe better, and then Jane Levy, I think, did, because she had to do both the Deadite and the big heroine performance of the movie. That was the first time they'd ever done that. Well, Ash did it too. I mean, I guess you could say Ash too, because he was a Deadite too, and then he turned into the hero. Yeah. So for me, I give it kind of just a lowish tune in for me. What say you there, Sage?
I'd say I'd go regular tune in, and the one other big compliment that I do want to give to go along with that is on top of the comedy, the other thing that I think saves this movie from its flaws is just the camera work. I think there is a lot of really inventive camera work. The chimney scene you just mentioned, I think that's one great example. There's a great moment where she is getting like pulled up onto the ceiling, and they do this like really cool like quick 3-camera turn as she get like pulled to each portion of like the wall and ceiling. I think some of the stuff at the very beginning with like the way the camera like flips over like with the boat, I think is really great. I think like that was something, and there's that long take you mentioned as well. I think that's something that just like consistently I think was continued to impress me. Just camera work and shot composition. For the flaws that I think this movie has, I think it is very interesting looking very consistently.
Yeah. And I like kind of like the house, and you mentioned the house is tied into Ash versus the Evil Dead, the house, because that's the same house as Lucy Lawless. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no like plot tie-in that I could notice, but it is for sure the same set. Like it is the same house.
Okay.
Again, I don't think there's like a plot connection, but it's for sure at least an Easter egg.
Yeah, because I never finished the show, so I don't know if the family had the same last name as the Lucy Lawless character or something or anything.
No,
they definitely didn't.
Okay, gotcha. So you give it a regular tune in. What about you, Ulysses?
I would also give it a regular tune in. I think that this movie has excellent cinematography. It's a joy to watch, and I think that the horror elements, the gore, the kills, the tension, all of that stuff is really well done. I think the theme was a good theme. Unfortunately, the writing simply didn't deliver to make it like a really memorable story. I think the characters touch at greatness, but ultimately fall short. I think the main character Alice ends up being kind of meh. She's like you said, she's fine. There's nothing really like wrong, but it's not what you would expect from an Evil Dead character. I think if you want to have a good like experience in a theater or at home, just watching a fun movie that gives you lots of great shots and lots of laughs, this is the movie for you. If you're expecting anything, even with like the seriousness of like the 2013 Evil Dead, you're not going to get it here.
Okay. So what will be your rating?
Oh yeah, tune in.
Tune in. Okay. So
Yeah,
kind of
middle of the road. Tune in.
Awesome there. So kind of tune ins all around for Evil Dead Burn. And then they have a new Evil Dead coming out. It's going to be coming out, what, 2027, 2028?
2028. I think they want to not, because they're done filming it already. Like, it's finished, but I don't think they wanted to release too close together.
Yeah. Evil Dead Wrath.
And this one's going to be a period piece set in 1972. So, like, again,
Disco Deadites?
We'll see, maybe. And we'll see if they connect it like directly in any way plot wise to say like the original film, but it's certainly predating it for sure.
Okay. And the director of that movie, Evil Dead Wrath, is a Francis Guadalupe. Guadalupe. There, so you have him who's directing it there. I'm not so.
Do we know where he in the world he's from? It sounds like a Spanish last name.
Says he was born in Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
So,
he can still have a Spanish heritage.
Yeah. So you got that. So the last movie he did was The Last Stop in Yuma County. Yuma County. Last Stop in Yuma County. I have not seen that movie myself, so very good there. So I guess there's apparently something in that movie that Sam Raimi saw that's like, hey, he's my guy for Evil Dead Wrath there. So that's coming out 2028 there, April 7th. So you have that. So spoiler talk with this, just to get into some of it. So the thing about the movie is, like I said, this family, the Deadites are looking for something. So this is kind of the first time I think we've ever seen an Evil Dead movie where the Deadites have more of a direct mission and goal. And that goal is they're looking for a dagger that can kill them. Which I talked this about Sage there as well, but I mean, I didn't really understand the importance of the dagger because I was like, well, you can kill a Deadite even without the dagger. So what would be so special about this dagger that you would need to get it in this weapon? I don't know. Can you guys elaborate on that? Maybe I'm missing something. Or
the movie. Well, let's say go first.
Oh, sorry. No, you can totally go first.
Oh, I was just going to say that I feel the same way as Josh. I mean, like, it felt like a dumb MacGuffin. It felt like it was just forced in just so we can have the Deadites at this house. Because they say that that this dagger is, like, the only thing that can truly kill a Deadite or some shit. But, I don't know, Deadites have been killed in all kinds of ways throughout the entire franchise. In this very movie, we see that they can be taken out permanently with blunt force trauma and a saw, respectively. So it's like, why are the Deadites interested in this dumb knife? A knife that is barely used in the entire movie and keeps getting lost and seems pretty worthless compared to the other weapons. When, like, Alice could have just drove down to Home Depot and had way better weapons.
Yeah. But what were you going to say there,
So there's like sort of a leap and an assumption sort of explanation that I can try and give. But let me preface that by saying I think they do a bad job of trying to convey this. This is just what I think they might be thinking, like behind the scenes. But even me saying this, just know that I don't think they do a good job of like getting this idea across. But I think what they're trying to go for, and this sort of includes the post-credit scene with the Ulyssey Sutherland Deadite reappearing at the end. I think that the idea is that the whole Ash series is volume 1 of the Necronomicon. 2013 film is volume 2 of the Necronomicon. And then Rise and this movie is a third volume of the Necronomicon, which I think the idea is that each summon like a variation of Deadites. Like it's not quite exactly the same thing. And that the post-credit scene was sort of trying to imply that the dismemberment and like kind of destruction of body isn't actually enough to kill these ones. Now, I don't think they necessarily, again, that's why I preface that. I don't think they do a great idea of like explaining that, and maybe they will in a future movie. But I think that's what they're trying to set up, like for a future film or for maybe like a larger storyline that's going to connect multiple movies together. They didn't do a good job of getting that across to the audience, but it's my suspicion is what they're going for.
Okay. And the reason why they know this family has the dagger is because the Deadites. So the family, I forgot what was the name of the society again.
The Wiseman's Council, which my suspicion is Evil Dead Wrath is kind of going to be about that council, and you might maybe even have like the Professor Nobi, or like a version of that character from like the professor from like the very original, could maybe have been involved with this group in some way.
Yeah. So, and then Joseph, who's the grandson of the person, a part of that council there, because it was the grandfather who was a part of it, and then he was the father of the mother, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Joseph is kind of like, I guess, for like a research project or like his own curiosity or something, he's digging up all the history with his grandfather and the his digging into the Deadites and all this other stuff, the Necronomicon. That kind of element in the Council of the Wise Men. That's something brand new. That's something that hasn't been introduced before in Evil Dead, to my knowledge.
I suspect it might be what we were hearing on the recordings in Rise, because that's where they refer to there being multiple volumes of the Necronomicon is on those recordings. It's like briefly in the sound bites in Rise. And so I think it's supposed to sort of be following up on that detail, at least in some capacity. And then also, let me just throw out there too, like as far as the characters in this movie go, I do think how much of just a complete piece of shit the brother turned out to be was kind of maybe the funniest like character twist.
We talking about Will? Will? Or
not Will, the other one, the one who's
the pussy one, the bitch.
Yeah, the pussy one.
He keeps leaving people behind and abandoning people and just like just completely letting shit go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was something that they brought into the movie there, the Council of the Wise Men, and then Joseph's doing all this research to study about them. So that leads me to my next thing, which is so the whole thing about the Deadites, when they jump into your body, they get the memories that you also have.
Right.
So the fact that they're like tearing up this whole house looking for this thing, it's like, why not just jump into all these people's different bodies? You can look at their memories and you know where the dagger is. Like, what's the thing with that is?
And then to build on top of that, why was like the dad zombie just standing around outside doing nothing when he could have been running around on the second floor while Thea's terrorizing everyone else? It's like, even if for some reason they can't jump into the other bodies, they still could have found the thing pretty fucking easily.
And even when Alice finally goes up into the attic or whatever, it is like the second box she checks. Like it doesn't even take her very long to grab it. I think it's just in general, it's just this issue with giving them such a specific goal, because in every other version, right, they're just trying to cause chaos, and they're just taking glee and like the malice and cruelty of it all. So inconsistencies in behavior can just kind of always be explained away in the other version by saying like, well, they're just doing it for their own amusement, or they're just kind of fucking around, right, for the sake of it. But because you give them a goal here, and then there's not this great level of care given to like how they're achieving it, or what like.
I will say, Army of Darkness gave the main Deadite a goal. I mean, he just sort of came out of ash, and then it was just like, okay, take this castle, get this book, and he worked pretty relentlessly on that. And there was actually like a fairly realistic, even like whole strategic battle of trying to take this castle and get to this book, and they were pretty single-minded in their desire to get it.
That's actually a good point. I didn't think about that, but that's true.
Yeah. So that's Army bringing up Army in Darkness. Yeah, it is kind of a good point there with that. So yeah, I kind of was just confused as to why can't they just jump into somebody's body and get the memories and do that? But okay. And then also,
especially we're going for the brother first, because he was the one that was up there and was looking at everything.
Yeah.
And then also with that, so you mentioned Ulysses mentioned the dad was just outside. I don't know why he can't just bust in the house. Why did he
I
have to
thought,
have the mother let him in or the wife let
yeah,
him
it
in?
felt like everybody was passing around the stupid ball because he was just standing there, just doing nothing for a long portion of the movie. The human characters, meanwhile, they barricade the door, but they don't even think about the windows. So
No,
it's
they just
like,
closed the curtain.
yeah, that'll keep them out.
You
It's not like
know,
glass can break or anything.
so I was kind of wondering what was the purpose behind that? Like just waiting, like him just waiting for her to let him in. I don't know. I guess maybe you want to say that they wanted to slowly corrupt everybody in the family and make
which
people.
which would work better if they didn't have like a goal, like get the knife. If they're just messing around, then that's fine. But
Yeah. And so there was that aspect I didn't really kind of understand there. And the fact that they kind of lived in kind of this house, it seemed like the Deadites were they kind of corrupting the house itself to make it look shitty, or was it always kind of pretty shitty
I
anyway?
got the
that
impression that it was always a dump.
well, and
Okay.
there actually is a little bit of dialogue where they say like to the brother that's alive, like, oh, like we left this house to you and you didn't take care of it or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the brother, yeah, because the
Yeah,
father, he's like, because he's infected by the deadite, and then he kind of goes like, well, you always say you're gonna do something, you never do it, you know what I mean, with the weed whacker and shit.
I
Uh,
did like when the dad is like just like he hasn't quite turned yet and he's in the basement. He starts cutting himself and she comes and she takes the tool away from him, and I'm like looking around at the room that they're in and I'm like, there's like 1,000 tools on every single shelf in here. You think that's gonna help?
yeah.
Another thing I want to bring up that I thought was really dumb and random is we learn towards the end of the movie in a scene that's very derivative of Evil Dead 2013 that the Will Deadite was there the whole time, apparently. Just like, I don't know, just chilling around the block or something. And what was he doing the whole
Yeah.
time? Why
Yeah.
did he just appear?
That was also another thing too, is like because I was watching the movie and then boom, here comes charred Will showed up, who looks like in V for Vendetta when that guy comes out in the scene there in the in the movie, which is like he's all charred up. It's a cool looking kind of effect there with that when they show that. But I was like, where have you like did you run here? Did you catch a Uber here? Like how the hell did you get here? But he just shows up and that's like the big climactic battle is between obviously this is what this whole thing would lean up to her and him, she's gonna take back her agency fighting him and everything.
And I mean, I like the idea too of like a deadite that's like on fire and charred and stuff, and like I think that's an interesting concept. But because it was so CG heavy, I feel like it falls kind of flat. Although I will say the shot where he's standing on like the porch of the house and it's more from a distance, so you don't like see the effect up close. I thought that looked really good. But then when you start seeing him like actually come towards her and like they do the construction yard part, I was like, the
Yeah.
effect just doesn't hold up that well.
Yeah, what do you think about the effect, the way he looked there, Ulyss?
Like I said, it looks great when you see it from a distance. It looks kind of like crap when they do it close up. And yeah, that whole final fight at the construction yard was like not as good as it could have been. It was also kind of weird to me, like there's just a construction yard out in the woods by the house, because it didn't seem like it was the same one from before when they had the funeral jokes. It seemed like it was a different place, and I was like, oh, this is just sort of here to be here, huh?
Yeah. I guess they must live in like a big city where there's construction everywhere, I guess.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
the only house in like a wooded area.
yeah. So yeah, that was kind of big. Like, where did they show up? And then so that ends with the big climactic battle, and of course she kills the deadite there, or she kills him with a jackhammer, which
Not
was
the dagger.
not the dagger, just the jackhammer. So different power tool that they use there with that. So that was kind of
It's sort of a Terminator 2 ripoff a little
It
bit
felt
too.
like that too, yeah.
She kind of just does that.
yeah. So that and then also so it ends with that kills that deadite. Then there's the grandmother deadite that people forgot about. Like she just because she got like cut in half or her legs got cut off.
Your leg,
You know,
yeah, is missing, yeah.
it was
Yeah.
actually funny because in the theater watching it, during that entire last like climax scene, my girlfriend kept whispering over to me like, "Where's the grandma?" She didn't forget. She was like thinking about the grandma the whole time. It's like, where'd the grandma go? That's gonna come up, right?
Yeah, she still got to get her purse back, man. I was like, is she ever gonna get her? She didn't want to leave on a cliffhanger with the movie there. So yeah, the grandmother, she's got no legs, so she started just crawling. I don't know exactly where she was crawling to just to get out of there, I guess, or
Maybe
whatever.
she'll start the next movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not this period piece, but whatever the one after that is.
So and then somebody sees obviously this old woman crawling on the side of the road and stops and goes like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And then she, kills her or turns her into a deadite or something.
I will give that a lot of credit if again, it's not going to be Wrath, but if the next Evil Dead movie after that genuinely starts with this grandma running on like these like super muscular legs of some like marathon sprinter, like cut off and taken, that would be an amazing payoff.
So there's that, and then there's like a stinger in this movie as well there.
Yes.
So the stinger is that, so at the funeral home where they had the funeral for Will, we see the people who run the funeral home and everything, like a mother and then the daughter there, the mother who owns the funeral home. And so the daughter is left alone, like she's looking at the urns and everything of all these different people. And then somebody said that one of the names on the urns was like an Evil Dead character or somebody from.
I don't know if I noticed that.
Okay, I'll look it up real quick because somebody said that the names of one of the urns was an Evil Dead character. So then the girl starts looking at all of them, and then in the mirror, she goes to a mirror, and then she sees Alyssa Sutherland, who was the Deadite Evil Dead Rise. And then I think with this, it seems like that's the most clear connection that there's ever been between maybe these Evil Dead movies, maybe. With that, where she shows up there, and then she comes out of the mirror, and then she kills the girl, the little girl there. What do you all think that means for like the future of the franchise, them including Alyssa Sutherland, all that stuff there? What do you think, Steve?
I think so. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where it's like I don't think the movie does the best job of conveying this concept necessarily, but I think there's a potential for that to be an exciting idea if I'm right about the whole. There's these 3 different volumes, and the Deadites of each one have like slightly different rules applied to them, and that. There's something with these 3 different books, because that's another small detail is when earlier in the movie when Alice is going through all the stuff that was like thrown away, and she almost reads the words herself, but that was a photo of the book from the 2013 movie, which I do think would have summoned a different, possibly competing strain of Deadite if she had finished reading that, which I kind of wish they would just have leaned into that and even just let that happen, because that if there were like 2 different factions of Deadites from different books going at it, I think that would have been really kind of interesting and cool. But I think there's potential in that idea. I'm excited to see what it implies. I just hope that I'm correct and that it does lead to something like that.
Okay. So I'm looking at the wise men. It says that the wise men were referenced in Army of Darkness. That they were referenced in that.
Oh, like the wizard might have talked about it, or not? With like the court wizard for the castle.
Interesting. Well, that's certainly a connection I didn't realize. But if that is the case, then that does actually make it even a little more interesting to me.
So you have that there. Ulysses, what do you think there?
What was the question?
Just like with Alison Sutherland coming back as the Deadite there, what do you think that means for like the future of the franchise? And
it means I hope they have a plan. That's like it. It kind of was like a scene where I was kind of meh about it because I wasn't sure if this was actually like something that they had an idea for, or if just like, hey, people like this character, let's bring her back. Why is she back? I don't know. Just put her in. And it would be great if I'm wrong. And if it's more like Sage says, I'm just more cynical about it. But I think I kind of felt that way because a lot of the plotting in this movie felt very half-assed.
Yeah. It was hard for me to get excited because I was like, what? I was like, I didn't really.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I mean, I like her character. And I was like, her being back, I was like, huh?
And I think I only had that idea because I was reading some like theories and stuff that other people had already put together, like pre the movie coming out, based on like the audio recordings in Rise. So I might have been like looking for things even beyond what was actually there. It's also a possibility.
It's a concept I felt would have worked much better if it was like the opening to a movie that then dives into it than as its own standalone stinger.
Yeah. And there is a Campbell cameo, of course, with all these movies, Evil Dead movies, got to have a Bruce Campbell cameo there. So it's just like a portrait on the wall of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's supposed to mean that he's like the grandfather, or if that means that, I don't know. Like,
I'm guessing that's just an Easter egg, especially because
Gotta be.
Bruce Campbell doesn't seem to want to come back much, unless it can be like voice work stuff. So, I'm thinking it's just an Easter egg. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe if this Wrath movie does, like, establish, like, a connection to, like, Professor Nobi, and, I mean, if it really has something to do with the wizards in Army of Darkness, that'll be, like, a huge left turn.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, so I mean, I doubt he's gonna probably be, like you said. He's old. He's got cancer. I don't think he'll roll around in the blood and wrath or something.
I think the only chance we really have of having like Ash in anything again is if they do the animated version they were talking about, where he can just sit in a recording booth and do voice work.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. So yeah. So that was also a thing, and then there was also another one that set up Evil Dead Wrath. I forgot that one. What was that one again, Ulysses? What happened in that one?
Wait, what up?
Would they set up Wrath? There was
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about, actually.
Okay, so they only just did the one with Alyssa. So I thought they did another one. I heard.
There's the grandma one
grandma.
and the yeah.
Oh, the list. Oh, okay, so they.
So one was just a joke, and then one was the Alyssa Southern.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, so you kind of got that there with it. Yeah, so that was kind of the spoiler talk with Evil Dead Burn there. Like I said, I like it. I do think it is. Like I said, I don't think it's the strongest one of it, but I still think it's fun. I still think there's a lot of good stuff to really like about it. A lot of good kind of action moments to like about it. And I'd watch it again, and I think I'd have fun with it.
Yeah.
Same.
This is a good party movie. Something to put on in the background where maybe you aren't fully paying attention to it, but just don't worry about the plot.
Yeah.
I'd be a lot harsher on it if not as much of the comedy worked for me as it did, but because I laughed so much, that sort of maybe earned it an extra point.
Yeah, the car scene, that's a great scene too. I like the car
Yeah.
scene and what happens to her with the headrest and all that stuff. Like, that was kind of really good. Again, I don't know when people say like this is so just mean and ugly and unfun and like, oh, maybe I'm a sicko. I don't know.
If you're a fan of the Ash Evil Dead movies, I get it. But if you liked 2013 or Rise, those movies were also incredibly mean-spirited. So I feel like this is very consistent with those in that sense.
And I feel like the Ash stuff is also pretty mean-spirited, just in a different way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that was our thoughts on Evil Dead Burn there. Very good there. I'm gonna be on VOD tomorrow there. I don't know, maybe if you still can catch it in a theater, maybe. I don't know. You could still do that.